Who are the Nephilim in Genesis 6? Before the flood, the Bible describes one of the strangest events in all of Scripture. Genesis 6 says, "The sons of God saw the daughters of men, took wives, and produced offspring." Then Scripture gives us a name, the Nephilim. But who were they? Were they simply ancient warriors? Were they giants? Or does Genesis 6 describe something far more disturbing? Christians have debated the identity of the sons of God for centuries. Some believe they were descendants of Seth, who married descendants of Cain. Others believe they were powerful human rulers, but an older interpretation understood them as heavenly beings. The phrase sons of God appears elsewhere in the Old Testament. In Job, the sons of God present themselves before the Lord. And when God describes the creation of the earth, he says the morning stars sang together and the sons of God shouted for joy. Human beings had not yet been created. That strongly suggests these sons of God were heavenly beings. If so, Genesis 6 describes something extraordinary. Beings from the heavenly realm crossed into the human realm, entered forbidden relationships with human women, and the result was the Nephilim. Genesis calls their offspring mighty men of old, men of renown. The Nephilim later became associated with extraordinary warriors and giant clans. And Genesis makes an unusual statement. They were on the earth in those days, and also afterward. Later, when Israel approached the Promised Land, the spies described enormous warriors living there. They spoke of the descendants of Anak and said they had seen the Nephilim. So somehow, the memory of these terrifying beings continued long after the flood. But Genesis 6 is about more than giants. Immediately afterward, human wickedness explodes. Violence fills the earth. Humanity becomes deeply corrupted. Scripture says that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart had become evil continually. Then comes the flood. So was the flood only God's response to ordinary human sin? Or had something deeper happened? Had the rebellion that began in heaven now invaded the physical world? Ancient Jewish writings understood it that way. The Book of Enoch describes rebellious heavenly beings known as the Watchers. According to that tradition, they descended to earth, took human wives, produced giant offspring, and taught humanity forbidden knowledge, including warfare, sorcery, and other forms of corruption. The Book of Enoch is not biblical canon for most Christians, but it is historically important because it shows how many ancient Jews understood Genesis 6, and the New Testament appears to echo this same tradition. 2 Peter speaks of angels who sinned and says God did not spare them, but committed them to darkness while they await judgment. The passage then moves directly into the days of Noah and the flood. Jude describes angels who did not keep their proper domain, but abandoned their proper dwelling. They are now kept in darkness, awaiting judgment on the great day. Those passages sound remarkably similar to the ancient understanding of Genesis 6, so the Nephilim may represent much more than an ancient mystery about giants. They may reveal another stage in the cosmic rebellion against God. First came rebellion in the heavenly realm. Then came the corruption of humanity. And before the flood, rebellious heavenly beings may have crossed a boundary God never intended them to cross. The result was corruption, violence, and judgment. But the flood did not end the war. Throughout Scripture, we continue to encounter hostile spiritual powers, demons, principalities, rulers, authorities, and forces operating behind human events. Paul later wrote that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against rulers, authorities, powers of this dark world, and spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. The Bible presents human history as more than what we can see with our eyes. Behind kingdoms, wars, rebellion, temptation, and corruption, Scripture repeatedly points us toward an unseen spiritual conflict. There is a war behind the world. And Genesis 6 may be one of our earliest glimpses behind the curtain. The Nephilim are not simply an ancient mystery. They are part of a much larger story of rebellion, judgment, redemption, and a coming king who will ultimately put every enemy beneath his feet. The question is not only, who are the Nephilim? The deeper question is, what does their story reveal about the unseen war that has been raging since the beginning?
The War Behind the World by Randy Clutter. Order your copy today. Available now on Amazon.